as you start thinking about building pipelines and working toward the clinic and eventually entering the clinic, obviously that's where things start to get very expensive for new biotechs. So I'm curious about what you're seeing out there on the funding scene specific to mRNA and in the RNA space, because every modality has its nuance, right? So. Um, are you seeing any, specific trends in the RNA funding space, and how are you leveraging them, and what's that kind of looking like for Radar?
Yeah. So I'll say in the RNA space, there is both um, a still a very high level of optimism coming straight off of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, there is a good level of caution as well, because I think, took 10 years for Moderna to build their platform before they were able to get a product out there. So there is a good, healthy level of caution. I think investors are getting more and more sophisticated. I think you still see a lot of excitement from pharma as well in the mRNA space. So and pharma is always a good investor because they really had a VC tell me, a very sophisticated VC tell me before that in the bad funding environments that there have been in the past, and there have been, we're in one now, and there have been in the past as well. Pharma continues to have a strategic interest in making sure that their future pipeline is getting taken care of. And so at this time, you are seeing pharma is investing a lot of money. A lot of their deals are going earlier. And they're going in first in class new modalities. They're investing in mRNA. They're investing in genetic medicines a lot. So you still have a lot of funding available. I will say, as a general trend for those in the mRNA space, you do have to have data. The bar for data now is higher. It's also a very complex space for IP. And so I think for anyone in the mRNA space, yes, it is I still think it's trendy with a lot of caution around those working in mRNA. There are very known problems that the entire industry still needs to solve for mRNA. But you have to have the best people around the table. You have to. We haven't mentioned, Ramesh Subramanian is also one of our new advisors, and he was former CEO and founder of Acidian and many other RNA companies. You have to show that the best people in RNA are there to support and believe in this mission. You have to build confidence with investors that way. You have to have good technology, and technology is both. You have to show that you've done something breakthrough, something actually meaningful in order to have the right to start a company. There are different ways to prove that. We like to prove that through showing that pharma cared about our technology. And we'll say that's why Eric called it Schmader Therapeutics, because we kept winning all these awards from pharma. And so posting our name out there. So we were stealth, but people kept putting our name out there. So people kind of knew who we were. But you have to show that people think that sophisticated investors and sophisticated strategic partners think this is a breakthrough. You have to have a moat, usually around IP. So your IP has to be very strong, differentiated, novel. You're making guesses as to whether you're making guesses as to how the patent office is going to view this, but you have to have a strong, educated guess. And the business matters. So the application will really matter. Of course, at the end of the day, it's all about the patient. But at the end of the day, you have to produce a high quality product that can compete with other modalities, with small molecules, biologics, whatever it is. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to the fundamentals. Whether you exit via M&A or you exit via IPO, those fundamentals will really matter as to how you are assessed and the excitement you're able to generate. And investors have to know that. And so I think the most important decision you can make as a platform, which I think mRNA companies are, is where you point the platform first.
I was going to ask, in terms of investment, I think as the space is sort of moving forward, we are, as you said, we're moving towards in vivo, right, applications of medicines that have to date been autologous. We're trying to transition into the therapeutic approach, right, as opposed to just prophylactic vaccination, right? Are you finding as you're talking to investors that the excitement is predominantly there for mRNA as this broad technology, right, as one that has been proven within the vaccination space, but there's caution on the therapeutics front, or are you finding that we're kind of, oh, vaccinations, old hat, now it's therapeutics, this is hot, like this is the exciting trend, and are there areas that narrative needs to be reshaped, right? Or that you're educating on the role of mRNA in therapeutics as opposed to vaccines?
Yeah. So that is a great question. I think that there is both. There is both a lot of caution around, can we actually apply this beyond vaccines? I mean, this is the same kind of, we thought about this at GACE too. We were very excited that the promise is you can move into other therapeutic areas beyond vaccines. Vaccines are very important too. But there are some we think could be features that are specific to mRNA. For example, its transience, where you have to be very clear about which indications is transience a feature, which indications do not need a permanent change like you have with DNA editing techniques. We do at Radar, we do believe that there are indications where you do want, if in case a mistake is made or you want that washed out, you don't want that change in all of your daughter cells, you can make the reset at the RNA level and not, don't need the permanence. So you have to be very clear on the transient story. You have to be very clear on how you're going to be expressing enough protein to get the effect that you want. And you have to be very clear about specificity, of course, as well. So there are parts of the mRNA story that investors are very cued in on. You will always get that question on transients. You'll always get that question on level of output. You'll get the question on specificity. You'll get the question on immunogenicity. Yeah. These are also questions that were the vaccine developers had to answer to, but yeah, you have to be ready, very ready to answer those questions and include them in your hypothesis as to which indications are currently available or will become available based on the rate of progress in the field.
Mm-hmm. You referenced earlier some of the perhaps premature recognition you were getting from pharma prior to your official launches, Radar, right? When you had to
Schmadar,
yeah. And that's, I mean, and I mentioned from the outset, you're attracting the attention of some heavy hitters. I mean, you've won some awards: the AbbVie Golden Ticket Award, the J&J West Coast Cell and Gene Therapy Symposium Award, even the Amgen Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging Award, which maybe not directly related to the science, but is still awesome and important. I'm curious about. Well, I've got a number of questions about that we could probably go long on. Like, one, how do you balance that when you're trying to fly under the quote unquote radar? But then how do those early acknowledgments sort of propel and create momentum for a company that's at your stage?
Yeah, and we'll mention Eli Lilly is also an equity investor in the company, and we have other pharma that we can't openly talk about that we are very familiar with. But one, we have been so excited that as the first person recruited to Radar, Eric recruited me. I'm so excited that others share the idea that this is an important vision. And as to the momentum, the great thing about pharma is they are a very sophisticated investor where VCs go very broad, pharma goes broad and deep. They have people that are really working on every part of the process that you will have to work on, the entering the clinic, the getting through regulatory approval. They really understand patient populations. They have probably diligenced a lot of similar technologies. They've maybe tried them out in-house. And so I think the pharma, what these mentions did to us and what these relationships bring, one is in early stage therapeutics, you don't really have a go-to-market motion. You can't really test directly with your eventual customer, which is the patient, as to whether this is going to work. You do have to show an investor that the idea is breakthrough and it's worth putting so much capital into because it's going to create a product that will be higher quality than others available. This is, and breakthrough means it's a combination of this has never been done before. Nothing else can really catch up to us. People don't like competition in biotech because it's just too expensive. We have a unique know-how. We have unique IP that will help us build a moat. And pharma will be very good at diligencing this. They'll be very good at understanding the landscape of other technologies that could be similar to yours or trying to solve a similar problem. It also has been super helpful in helping us do customer discovery because they just hold a lot of information. And so I think the earliest you can start talking to people with regulatory experience, start talking to clinicians, and start talking to pharma, because they will know the performance metrics that will show that your technology is significant. They will have opinions on the best translational models, the best animal models. They will even have opinions on what experiments they need to see that really tell the story. You don't want to get these wrong. You don't want to have to go back and do them again. So I think it's part of this really deep customer discovery process to get those relationships with pharma going. They are very willing to guide you if they're interested in your technology on how to make the best technology possible in the fastest way. They have a strategic interest. So,
yeah. Anna Rose, have you noticed that Dr. Kazanet has been demonstrating his roll up his sleeves and get it done attitude, whatever it takes, every time the lights start to dim in that room? While Sophia's talking,
Wave.
yeah, he starts rolling around in his chair to get the lights to come back on. Like this guy,
That's some real partnership going on right there.
Demonstration. It's demonstration.
Meanwhile, I'm shouting questions over you.
That's all good.
This is
I yield
partnerships of all different styles.
I yield the microphone to you. Last question, then we do need to wrap things up. Although this is, I'm hoping, the first of many conversations with the two of you. I've enjoyed it, and there's a lot to learn here. You guys have been, you were talking earlier about the responsibility of responsible biotech leaders to sow seeds, to share, right? Mm-hmm. And I think this
generous,
generosity, the conversation has demonstrated that about Sophia.
Oh, 100%.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'd love to have you back. But for now, I'm looking for some thoughts on what's on the immediate horizon for you two, both personally, too personally, but in your
where are you going on vacation? Who's going to be there?
No one's allowed to go on vacation.
Yeah, there's no vacation. But in your capacities and your roles there, and then what's on the immediate horizon for Radar itself?
Go ahead.
So,
Eric.
Yeah,
Sophia can roll around and keep the lights on.
Yeah, it's her turn.
Right. It is growing and resourcing the team and reducing the barriers and friction for executing on the science. We have uncovered a lot of unique and exciting things related to RNA biology, and there's a lot to chase down to make therapeutics better. But especially as we start switching from the research to the development side, that's my main goal, is to make sure we have bring in the right people that we need and reduce any friction to get things done and get the science rolling and move forward.
All right, I lied. Not last question, because follow up to that, Eric. Do you relish that role? Do you find that role like refreshing compared to sort of like, okay, I've been holding down the fort on the science side. Now I get to play, founder. Like, or is it foreign to you?
It's definitely been an evolution, and that's why I spend so much time talking with other founders to see what's in store, listening to your podcast on my drives from Berkeley to Stanford, to see what's up ahead. I like to use this metaphor, like there's a road, but I want to know where the potholes are. So it's been an
steer around them.
Evolving challenge to understand what is in store, and I do think the job changes not quite every day, but week to week and certainly month to month. As we grow and take on new things that we need to do to make the medicine. So it's been exciting. I've learned just so much. Whenever I do have some free time, I like to doodle on new molecular designs and things like that. But at this point in the company, we're moving and getting more serious about our individual projects and the things we're going after. So that's an evolving process, of course, and it is a different mindset. My grad school experience was very different. All the experiences before that, very different. And I'm sure that every company is a little bit unique and different as well, depending on the problems you're tackling, the team you have around you. So
it's a new challenge. Yeah, it's a new challenge.
Yeah,
you'll never be bored.
Oh.
Never.
It's a foreign word. Sophia, how about you? What's on your immediate horizon?
Yeah, immediate horizon, it is pretty much all about Radar right now. even in my personal interactions, it's about radar, and if you really love the mission, you're thinking about it at the grocery store, you're thinking about it at your party, you're trying to tell your friends about in vivo programmability, and they're like, what's that? Please leave me alone.
You're a real hit at the cocktail parties, I'm sure.
Yes.
Right?
I did want to take a chance to thank everyone on the Radar team. Every employee at Radar has taken a risk on this idea and really believes in the mission. And we hope that this is the opportunity of a lifetime for everyone here to change the world. So we want to thank our team. Everyone has been, when we say recruit the best people in the world, it includes everybody at Radar. So other employers do not try to steal them, but they're all approved, great people who work at Radar Therapeutics. There is at Radar, now that we're moving, a couple months that we can move a bit away from fundraising, because that really is always the job. But there is more active management. The team is growing. We're also moving. We'll have a research function, but we're moving more towards a development function as well. And so it takes a different style of thinking, a different way of parallelizing experiments. And Eric and I have to make sure that everyone is really aligned on how we're moving towards where we're going. So there is, I look forward to that too, spending more time actively with the team, thinking about these problems. And then on the related side, I think right now there are a lot of government policies and rulings that are very consequential for our industry. And these have always been on my mind. I've written about them before on, biomedical innovation cannot be involved in geopolitical warfare or domestic, fights. It's not worth it. It's our mission's too important. And so I hope to get more involved there from the position that we're in. And I think all biotech executives need to make their voice heard right now on how some of these policy changes could be affecting our industry.
You just, unbeknownst to you, perhaps, you just planted the seed for our next podcast discussion, Sophia. Whether or not Dr. Cazanet wants to join that one, I don't know. But Sophia, we're gonna plan that one out.
Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
A lot to say.
I really appreciate you guys coming on the podcast. I'm going to link to that op-ed that you referenced on Cell and Gene in the show notes, since Cell and Gene's a great friend of ours. So we'll link to that. But keep an eye on Radar Therapeutics.